All right, hello everyone. Here we are, hole number 5 here, and kind of two ways that I suggest this. Either Kingmaker or Katana, something with very good side spin. And the choice of which you choose really isn't, going to be a deal breaker. You are probably going to want to set up a sniper shot for this hole. And if I go power 2, we'll do that since I'm finally switching up. And let's go to my extra mile. Anytime that I'm kind of maybe just gradually going into an overpower will depend on the wind angle, but I'm going to probably play this with very close to plus 10% elevation, which is going to mean it's basically equivalent to saying plus 10 rings is how much you're adjusting when you push in those elevation values. So it's not just limited to elevation. You can use it for overpower, overcorrection, and it'll really help. And here you can see we are going to have a tailwind scenario, and at least 10 to 20%, even if I don't use power. In a case like this where it's pointed straight downwind, you might want to consider, even with a no power shot, very close to plus 20%, which is going to be very close to what I probably try to do. And I will try to use this. Another thing, that I don't want to discourage, here you can see my opponent using a rock. It's very manageable to be able to do this. It might just take some practice. You might not be able to get it on the first try, but this is going to be, a very good approach, especially for a tailwind. Of course, you're going to want to hit all those bounces into the fairway and try to not get caught up into the rough. When you get caught on the rough like that, it's going to put you very close to max. One of the best things about Katana here is going to be, and you can see I'm using plus 20%, it's going to be about 3.8 rings, right around 4. And as I was mentioning, one of the best key components here, you can see I kind of want to land it maybe 1 ring into overpower, more or less. And you'll see me kind of aim over to the side here. So since I'm already kind of landing 1 ring into overpower, I'm only going to go 2.8 rings, give or take. And then aside from that, I'm just going to use no power and curl. So hopefully that curl will, really shoot me down. And you can see that I'm not getting very aggressive on the left edge or anything. And I'm just kind of shooting it up into this gap. And going over here, it does take just a little bit of practice, but there you can see, especially if you get it up there towards the top, you're going to really increase the chance that you can make it. Now, what I want to mention about this next shot is it is going to be very uphill. We do have a tailwind, so I might not go down as low as I would usually. I might usually use maybe a minus 20% adjustment. Here I'm only going to use a minus 10 because it is still a tailwind. The ball guide is going to kind of expand out a bit, and you want to avoid over pulling because you could land that second hop into the rough. So I'm going to use minus 10% with my adjustment. It is going to be a very uphill shot. As I mentioned, you might want to use, for most cases, minus 20%, but in the tailwind case, we'll just go with minus 10 here. And here you can see we're actually going to be right on max. So I would actually like to have that Kingmaker. As I was mentioning, you really want to be very close to here. Let's see what I can do here. I really like to be able to, spring this forward. You can see I'm kind of 2 rings. I'm going to kind of assume that I've already adjusted 2 rings in this situation. So it's calling for 5.8 instead of 5.8. I'm only going to go 3.8 rings because I want it to land up there farther to where I don't need to use power. Ooh, had to hit a great ball. Ugh. So I'm assuming this is going to shoot out just a little bit to the right. And there you can see it shoots out just a little bit to the right. Perfect ball. Might have been able to have that one. But you can see my drive was kind of the minimum that you want to be able to drive it, because I almost had to go into power there. It was very close. And what you saw me doing is I was just tweaking my max ring adjustment with the 10%, minus 10%. For Pro, I'm going to probably recommend that minus 10 number, unless I learn something different. But, you know, the difference between what I just did and, you know, had I used the Kingmaker, I wouldn't have had to go into that power. So that's kind of one of the advantages. And I would have still had that nice side spin for the drive. You can see that I used my full curl and full side spin on the drive and still was kind of left of center in that fairway. It's also going to be very dependent upon perfect ball as well. Oh, and I got to start forfeiting out as well. So I'll do that on the next one. Well, I'll do that on the rest of the holes. I'm definitely not trying to qualify today, and make sure that tomorrow that I can, you know, get you guys some hole adjustments here. So good luck with this fifth hole, guys. You know, keep that trick in mind. Also keep in mind that the ball guide is going to expand out a bit. Ideally, you're going to be somewhere around 4 backspin, which is what you're going to want to use. So, but also, you know, you got to keep in mind that if you don't quite make it up to where you can get it at full club, like I couldn't land it where I wanted to with a 4 backspin shot. So you could see that I was taking off my ring adjustment to get it to land farther up so I could still apply that backspin. Without that 4 backspin, it's just the ball won't stop fast enough. So 3.5, 4 backspin is kind of the minimum that you can get that to even stop. So no matter what, you got to be thinking copy my spin more than anything. And, you know, even if you have to go full blast into power, that's the way that you're going to need to do it, because that's the absolute minimum spin that you can get in the tailwind shot. So good luck with that hole, guys, and catch you guys for hole 6 coming up.